won't get you. What? Chaz just took Pickles out.
She did.
Good girl. She's like, I don't know what to do, Mother. I don't know what to do. Considering Jazz was dead in her crate like 2 minutes ago, she's certainly woken up. Oh, this is what's better.
Oh, good girl.
Give her kisses, Pickles.
Good girl.
See, Pickles is game for it all, isn't she?
Good girl.
Don't worry, Pickles is more than used to being taken out. So other than the footage of the puppies playing outside, I didn't get any footage at the show yesterday. But Jazz did 2 classes, came second and first. Nala did 1 class and came second against the eventual reserve Best Veteran in Show winner. So she gained 3 points towards her veteran warrant and Jazz gained a point towards her junior warrant. So that was positive considering I wasn't going to go, considering I didn't even bath. I've got a nasty feeling Nala's going to come into season. Sorry, Rave. So don't worry, I've not forgotten about the recall video. I may even film something towards it today, but obviously today's walk would be a more advanced test of your skills. You know, as in you really want to know or have some basics of your recall, and a fairly reliable one before you test it in a really exciting and engaging environment like this. We've already passed 2 dogs, one of which was on the way back to the car and we're still reacting, and then another one that was just bouncing around excited. So I don't think they've done enough on their walk. A few dogs are returning like that. And then another dog that is going out with his owner on an electric bike. So I've already seen that. There's definitely wildlife around here for smells. A little distance away there are sheep, but they are in a field and they are enough of a distance away that you'd have to really lose your dog to risk that, risk them going to the sheep. But you know, you've got to be aware of what could be around in your environment. So coming here, I've seen cyclists, motorbikes, people pushing a baby in a pushchair, various assortment of dogs of all sorts of breeds, on lead, off lead, following an electric bike, going with a runner, etc. So you gotta know your environment, and you gotta know your dog and any potential triggers your dog may have. So that's important. So I've kind of decided in walking through those trees that I'm going to talk about recall today and about sort of some of the do's and don'ts and some of the challenges you may have, etc. And then I'm going to plan tomorrow's video, but again, that may not quite happen tomorrow depending on the weather, but actually do a practical training recall with maybe a variety of dogs of different skill level, I guess, in their recall. So you got to know your dog. So some dogs have a real strong prey drive. So if your dog your dog's prey drive is activated and they are chasing a squirrel or a rabbit, then to be able to recall them off of that is like advanced recall. That's very good skills with a good history of recall. So, you know, there's that. If your dog has a strong sort of following drive, like Pickles earlier really wanted to follow my friend on her horse because we met up on the tips. So she got very heavily rewarded when she did recall from the horse. And I also used throwing food at her as a way of distracting her from the horse. And then, you know, it sort of worked that she got a reward, but it also had distracted her and broke her attention from the horse, so that we did get a recall. And then there are people who use fear as a motivator for recall. So basically their dog ends up worried or frightened of the consequences of not recalling. Now that's a very risky way of training, because your dog may end up frightened of recalling at all. If they've been slow, if you've had to bellow, if they catch a tone in your voice, it makes them think they're in trouble, that may work against you and they may not come at all. Equally, it could work, but it's not really a nice or a kind way of training, and ideally you build up a positive history of positive reinforcement to train recall. And you gotta figure out what's a positive for your dog. So for like Dudley and Lani and Jude, actually, for Jude it's a tennis ball, for Dudley it's a tennis ball or a sports pet ball, and for Lani it's a sport pet ball. They love them. Finnick, a tug toy, is wonderful for him. Raven, a tug toy or a flirt pole. She would happily come back for them. But for pretty much all of them, except for sometimes Finnick, although he has got better as he's got older, food tends to work. So don't practice recall if you've just fed your dog a meal. They're not going to be as motivated as they would be if they were hungry. Did you get that? You did get it. So, you know, think about it as in plan your session for a time before your dog's eaten. And then think about your reward. When you first train recall, something high value, because to me recall is the safest thing you could ever teach your dog, as in it's a guaranteed way of keeping them safe. If you've got a guaranteed recall, you know, you can recall them from a car, from a horse, from another dog, from a cliff edge, from poisonous food, anything and everything you can think of. If you've got a good recall, it could save your dog. So you got to think of it in that way, how important it is. So think about a good reward for your dog. Then as your dog gets more established in their recall, you can give them just kibble in your garden or in your house. So you just bring in the rewards back a step, and you save the high value rewards for when you're on a quiet walk. Then once you've done your quiet walk and you feel pretty confident there, then you start building up the level of difficulty. And if you put them on a long line, it kind of means they can't fail. So they may not come back first time, but worst case scenario is you just reel them in. So they are coming back by you reeling them in. And then you can build on that. So build on your distractions, like go to a park where you could go to a quiet corner where they can see people, children, dogs, whatever, and you can recall them. Gradually decrease the distance and you can recall them. So, and again, reward. If I reward recalls, even now at like this group's stage, where Finnick will be 2 in November, and then Pumpkin and Raven are 3 and Nala is 7. So, you know, imagine how many walks these dogs have been on in their lives and how many recalls they've had in their lives. So if I can reward them, I don't know, say 95% of those recalls, then in their mind, there's a real good chance that they're going to get a reward if they recall. So it's worth it. And recall is basically your training competing against the environment and whatever potential rewards your dog may be getting from the environment. So like recalling a male dog off the scent of an in-season bitch, that's hard. Recalling them off a chase of a rabbit, that's hard. Recalling them from playing when they're playing with another dog, that's hard. You know, and depending on your dog, different things are hard or harder. Wow, Finnick, that's a good stick. That's a good stick. Wow. So for me, reward as many recalls as possible. If your dog takes a step backwards and doesn't recall, that's normal, but you take a step backwards in your training and go back to the step before, you know, train that, establish that, then go back to the sort of step you were on where your dog took the step backwards. And hopefully that reinforcement of going back a step to an easier step has made all the difference in your training. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope some of my ramblings have made sense. That's steeper than it looks, by the way. And yeah, I shall see you all soon. Bye. I know I signed off the video, but I just thought, just for context, this is how calmly mine walk after a good forestry run. I think we've been out easily 2 hours, and you know, other than this bit that we're walking on lead now, at the start of the walk and this bit at the end of the walk, they've been off lead the entire time. They've all had a good run, and yeah, this is how quiet they all are.